Hi, this is Jerry Edmon, and this is Success in Life. I want to talk to you for a few moments about being planted, kind of like a tree is planted with a deep root system. Here I'm talking about your long-term success. I want to talk to you about the things that are in your future, not just in the next couple of months, but even the years ahead, because that depends on you being planted. Now, when I use the term planted, I think of longevity, of stability, intention, seasonal fruitfulness. I'm talking about something that year after year after year produces for you. Predictability, being established. It's a really good word. It's especially a good word if you're trying to lay a foundation for your business or your career or your family, because you want something that's generational and not just like some 30-day Roman candle that goes up and goes boom and then you never hear from them again. We're talking about something your children and your children's children can build on. Back in the early 90s, I moved from Oklahoma City to Texas, and I bought some land, and my intention was to build on it. And so as I was putting everything together, a friend of mine came to just visit with us, and he was kind of looking around the area and looking at our surroundings, and he made a statement. He said, "It looks like you guys are going to homestead here." I just thought about that. I mean, he was waiting to hear a response from me, but I couldn't shake it. It sounded weighty. Homestead. I mean, that meant something. In ancient times, there was a generational mindset in families and businesses, and they lived together, and they worked together, and they grew together. I remember when I was in Oklahoma City, there was a furniture store on Western Street. I think it was Western, and it was called Mathis Brothers Furniture. Now, this had to have been 50 years ago, but I remember. It's crazy how these things, after all of these years, stick in your mind. And the name of the brothers were Jude and Jody, and they had this musical program. I don't remember how often they did it, but I remember they had a musical program, and they had all of the instruments, and it just looked like something from Branson, that they would get up and they would go through all their musical program and just kind of promote their store. And I'll never forget, or at least it seems to me, the words that come to me was that when they would finish, they would say together, "We love folks." Oh my goodness, it's amazing how that stuff just sticks in your mind. Well, eventually, there came the time that they needed to turn it to the children, and so they passed the baton to the next generation. And the next generation just kind of stood on their shoulders and built, and they were extremely successful. But last time I was in Oklahoma City, I noticed something. I was watching television, and the Mathis Brothers commercial came on, and it was the next generation. It was like the grandchildren that was making the commercials, and each generation took it further. One problem we have in our generation is we start from scratch every time we want to do something. Kids leave their parents and they start over. Their parents will spend 30 years building a business, and the kids think, "Nah, I think I'm going to go do something else." So they'll go off and sweep off the ground and completely ignore all of the foundation and all the building that has been built from their previous generation, and they don't take advantage of it. But see, I want to say big trees are generational. You got to get that in your mind. This is where I want to really take you to right now. Big trees are generational. I mean, doesn't that tell you something? And people today, they're like a tree, all right, but they're still in the back of the truck. They never put down roots. It's almost like we live in this weird mobile society, and I'm just telling you, it's not healthy. People don't know their neighbors. You start to hear statements like, "Well, I'm just kind of looking around," or "I'm keeping my options open," or, "I'm just going to see what happens here before I make any decisions," or "I don't want to get too caught up in things." All of these are just legal detachments, and they're things that keep us from putting our roots down. And if we're not careful, years will get away from us, and we never move into a place that we flourish in our business, our life, or anything. Your goal should be to grow something that lives longer than you. But to do that, you're going to have to see it from a generational standpoint. I want to say it again. Trees take generations to grow. Big trees take generations to grow. And so that should be your goal. Let me tell you something. Being planted means taking ownership. The concept of being planted is a decision, it's a connection. It's almost like a settling into something that empowers you. I mean, it really does. When you see someone who is planted, it's almost like they're drawing an energy, they're drawing a life that's empowering them. And here's kind of where I probably need to pause and talk to you about your life and your business. See, you got to have the attitude, I'm here and I'm going to make this thing work. I'm going to do my homework, I'm going to lay the foundation, and I'm going to build something that outlasts me. I mean, that's got to be your mindset. And when we talk about being planted somewhere, it's more than just saying that's someplace I go, that's someplace I live. That is such a surface statement. When you're planted, you literally become part of the ground, and the ground becomes part of you. And you become part of the ground, and you draw something from the ground to sustain your life. I just really believe that God designed life to be that way. When you become planted, it provides the juices that you need to take you to success, which, by the way, is a journey. It's not done in just a few days. It's generational, but that's where you got to begin to look if you want to see something really substantial grow. That's the missing element in most people today. They don't have it in their marriage, they don't have it in their job, they don't have it in their community, and they don't have it in their church either. I'll tell you what, they're there just long enough to get uncomfortable, and then they want to go do something else. They don't know what it means to face difficulty and hardship, and therefore the ground itself doesn't provide the life that they need to succeed. See, we have to commit something of ourselves to the ground. And I'm not trying to get mystical with this or get weird, but I'm just saying there's a part of you that you have to give to the ground. You have to give to someone else. That's the life force that makes things work. You can't half-heartedly do this. I mean, you're going to have to get pregnant with this commitment and carry it full term. You can't be sort of pregnant. Well, how are you? Well, I'm sort of pregnant. No, you're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. And the concept of being planted is the womb of your life. That's where things are birthed. When you really become planted, your focus is there, your energy is there, and there literally is a life force that rises up that makes you flourish. It makes things work. I've seen people float from here to there and from place to place, and I'm just telling you something, they never birth anything. Being planted is something more than just a character trait. Being planted is the womb for your future, if I could say it like that. And in this day and time, we have people who they're not planted. They're not planted in a job. Well, I was looking for a job when I found this one. They're not planted with friends. They don't even have any friends. They're not planted with a church. They're there for just long enough to determine whether or not they like the music or not, and then boom, they're off someplace else. They can't stay committed to anything. You know, I've got a lot of experience in the church, and so I can say something about the church more as an example because I see how people so lightly hold their commitment to the church. But when you're going to be in a place and you really feel like this is where you're supposed to be, you shouldn't let bad weather keep you from attending. And what I mean by bad weather is the storms of life or the things that go wrong or somebody that got your parking place. I'm stunned at how many people attend until they don't like something. Well, I don't like this, or I didn't like that. You know, my wife said Starbucks has just kind of ruined our generation. People have a Starbucks mentality. You know, well, they want one shot of this, they want a half shot of that. Well, you know, I like it with a little extra foam, or I would like, you know, and basically I want it my way. And if they don't get it their way, the first time they face adversity, they're up and they're gone. But I'm telling you something, when you are planted, you last through the hardships. You last through the winters of life. You last through the storms. And it's so important that in regard to your church, in regard to a lot of things like that, you've got to come to the place that says, my family and I are here, and we're part of the thing that makes this work. This is my church. You know, I'm reminded of a scripture from Psalms chapter 92. It says, those who are planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. So the flourishing was directly related to being planted. And a lot of people, they're not planted, and therefore they don't have the sense of flourishing in their life. Why? Because you draw something from the ground. That's the design. There's another verse in Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 5 through 7. Let me read this to you. It says, "But you shall seek the place where the Lord your God chooses out for all of your tribes to put his name for his dwelling place." Now listen to this. It said, "And there you shall go. There you shall take your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, the heave offerings of your hand, the vowed offerings, your free will offerings, and the firstborn of your herds and flocks." And then it said this, "And there you shall eat before the Lord your God, and you shall rejoice in all that you have put your hands to, and you and your household in which the Lord your God has blessed you." Now he said three things. You'll go there, you'll give there, you'll eat there. That's what I call homesteading. It's the truth. That's what I call homesteading. And people move around and they never experience that. And as a result, there's never stability in their life. They never put down roots. You know, there's another two verses in Proverbs 6 and 11 and Proverbs 24:31 says that poverty is associated to the person who travels. In other words, someone who's always traveling from here to there to there. They haven't put down roots, and it says poverty will come on them. See, if you don't put down roots, you never lay the foundation for your life to grow. Your success depends on your ability to stick with it. You know, someone made this statement. They said, you need to be like a postage stamp. Stick with it until you reach your destination. Get planted. Come on, make the decision to get planted. Longevity, stability, intention, seasonal fruitfulness. You know, I said that a while ago. Predictability, being established. And when you find somebody who gets like that and they don't flinch when they face adversity, they don't live in offense at somebody. Well, I'm offended because you did that, and I'm out of here. But they stay planted. They stay where they are. It produces a flourishing that becomes generational. And I'm telling you something, it'll lead them to what I call success in life. Go for it.
We hope you've enjoyed this podcast about success in life. If you would like more information about this subject or other materials or resources offered by Jerry Edmon, please go to www.jerryedmon.com.